So, I went to see the stage adaptation of A Little Life, and it was a lot. Now, before I get into talking about my reaction to the play, I have to tell you an anecdote about what happened the day after, because I went to my friend's house who were going to hang out for the evening, and my friend lives with her parents. So while she was getting ready, I was chatting with my friend's mom, who asked me, have you been up to much this week? And I said, oh, well, yeah, last night I went to the theater. I went to see A Little Life. Oh, did you have a nice time? Did I have a nice time? No, run away from him, Jude! So much blood. Why is the world so cruel? Would you recommend it? I haven't been to the theater in ages. The last thing I saw was Mamma Mia. Maybe I should get tickets. Would I recommend that my friend's 73-year-old mother go see A Little Life when she clearly has no idea what A Little Life is? It's sold out. The entire run is sold out, so you can't get tickets. So yes, I went to see A Little Life, the play, and this novel remains like one of the most controversial and popular books I can think of from the past several years. The way it's been so discussed, so much loved by some people, and so detested by some other readers. It's often said that you'll either love or hate this novel, and I feel like I'm in the minority where I came somewhere in between. There were many aspects of the book that I appreciated and I thought were really powerful, especially in its depiction of friendship and long-term friendship, how there can be certain subjects and aspects of our personal history which we don't discuss with our friends, which we skirt around, and the same is true with our friends. Our friends will avoid talking about certain subjects, and over a long period of time, these just get to be things that we don't talk about. So I thought that was really well done in this novel. Also, there's an aspect to Yanagihara's writing that I think is just so compelling, that really draws you in, makes you feel so psychologically involved in the story, and makes you want to keep reading. Both this book and her more recent novel, I felt had those same qualities. But at the same time, I can really understand the criticism of this novel, especially in the way that violence and trauma is portrayed in the story, and so drawn out. It feels like every time Jude gets some little glimmer of hope that he might have happiness and relief in his life, the author comes in and takes that away. Nope, you're not going to have it, Jude. And that does feel like the author is being overly controlling and manipulative. So I did feel really in two ways about this book, and I'm sure anyone going to see the stage show will be a fan of this novel. If you weren't a fan of this novel, then you will definitely be avoiding the play. And I could tell amongst the audience, I was amongst a group of true fans who had all brought their tissues with them, ready to cry, ready to have a big emotional catharsis watching this show. It is all there, happening right in front of you, live on stage. The abuse, the self-harm, the violence, the trauma, the rape, it's all explicit and unrelenting. I think the actor James Norton is incredible in his portrayal of Jude, in the way he completely inhabits all of that physical and emotional pain, and you can feel it all running through him throughout the show. I don't know how he does this show night after night. Also, just recently, I finished binge watching every season of Happy Valley, and James Norton plays a very different character in that show. So to see his transformation on stage like that is really powerful. But saying all of that, I'm not sure in seeing Jude on stage like this, going through all of these things, all of this trauma and abuse. It goes on and on. I'm not sure what I really got from that, but what I did get from this show was the portrayal of the friendship. I thought how that was brought to life on stage was really effective and moving. I got such a different sense of JB as a character, the way the actor portrayed him, and as he was shown on stage as being kind of the outlier of this group who's sometimes inside and sometimes not close to the other friends, and who has real difficulty like melding with this group, even though they are a tight-knit circle. And the most effective thing about it wasn't just how much Jude was bleeding. So the stage was covered in blood so much of the time, and it wasn't the act of seeing him bleed like that, but it was his friends cleaning it up. So while some of the action was happening on the stage, kind of on the other side of the stage, his friends who weren't part of the main action that was happening were just cleaning up all of this blood. And this really like drove home what it was like being friends with someone who was so damaged in this way, and the constant need to sort of clean up after them and keep watch over them. I thought that was so effectively conveyed. So most of the time while Jude was going through what he was going through, I was concentrating on those actors on the other side of the stage, his adoptive father and his doctor, as they were endlessly cleaning up all of this blood. And also what wasn't so effective, I felt, about Jude's character were the flashbacks to when he was younger, when he was being abused, and when James Norton had to act as a child. And I feel like whenever it's not that he was like bad at it, but just seeing an adult portraying a child on stage, there's something just never quite convincing about it. And a small note about the staging of the show, because you have the main audience in the normal seats, but they also set up 3 bleachers on the back of the stage watching the show from behind. And yeah, a lot of aspects of the show are played kind of to both sides, but I feel like the main part of the action is played out to the majority of the crowd rather than the people sitting behind the stage. So I'm not sure why they had some audience members behind there. I mean, I was glad to be part of the main audience because I feel like I would have missed out on some of the aspects of the show, even though you are right there with the actors. So if you wanted to be very close to them, you would be right in the show. But at the same time, like towards the end of the show, like about a half hour before it ends, there's one part where a character moves this vase of flowers from one side of the stage to right in front of the audience at the back of the stage, so much so that the person sitting behind this vase of flowers, which was set down, wasn't able to then see the stage. And so then for the last half hour of the show, I was conscious of her kind of like bending over, like struggling to see what was going on, because this vase of flowers had been inexplicably just sort of sat down right in front of her face. So overall, I mean, much like reading the novel itself, I felt quite mixed about the stage show. There was a point during the show where I just thought, why am I doing this to myself? Why are we all doing this to ourselves? Because it's a lot. Also, to give another interesting side note and perspective about the portrayal of violence on stage, I went to see the show of Titus Andronicus at the Globe Theatre a few nights after seeing A Little Life, which was really interesting to compare these two shows, because if you don't know, Titus Andronicus is Shakespeare's most violent play. There is an huge amount of brutality and mutilation and rape and really horrible things happening pretty much throughout the entire show. However, this production at the Globe that I went to see, they approached it from a really interesting angle where it was an all-female cast, but also instead of actually showing all of this violence on stage, each actor was holding a candle. And so when a character was killed, their candle was blown out. If a character was being mutilated, then the wax of their candle would be kind of cut up in a certain way. And it was still really effective. I mean, they played it much more up the kind of dark comedy of this show and the ridiculousness of the unrelenting violence in the show, but I still felt emotionally involved, even though not a drop of blood was spilt on stage. And special shout out to the actor Kibon Tanji, who played the character of Erin in this show. She was fantastic. Now, obviously, these two plays are very different kinds of shows, and the directors and production made very different decisions in how they were going to portray this difficult subject matter. But I thought it was really interesting to compare, different ways that you can portray violence on the stage. So to answer my friend's mum, would I recommend going to see the stage show of A Little Life? If you are a massive fan of this novel, then yes, I would recommend it. It is very expensive, and I think it's true, it is actually sold out in London, so I don't think you would actually have a chance to see it if you don't already have tickets. It was really interesting to see, but not my favorite theater experience, and yeah, I left feeling quite mixed about it, but that's interesting. I think it will continue to provoke really interesting discussions about this book. Like the novel itself, there have been lots of reviews going one way or the other. Some reviews really praising the stage adaptation and others completely trashing it. So it's still going to be a story that we're going to continue to discuss and debate about. And I would love to know in the comments below how you feel both about this novel and if you've been able to see the stage adaptation of it, or if you'd be interested in seeing the stage adaptation of it. Please let me know about that in the comments. I'd be glad to discuss all these things with you. But I hope you're doing well, and I will speak to you again soon. Bye-bye.